Hello and welcome to Little Live Story, the podcast where we take an anime and turn it into a movie.
And a movie turned into an anime.
I'm Eric.
I'm Jared.
And today, Jared, are you ready for what you got?
That I am.
It's nothing bad, don't worry.
Well, I'd hope not after what you put me through last week.
I was going to say, I had to give you a bit of a softball. So, this week I want you to turn Jumanji into an anime.
Oh, I like that movie.
Yeah, the 90s one with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Okay, so the vague plot synopsis is a magical jungle-themed board game sucks up a young boy who plays it, and then years and years later, a new group of children find the game and play it, release him, and then have to go through this magical adventure to finish the game and dispel all the crazy Jumanji magic. Fun, madcap adventure.
It's also a little scarier than I remember.
Yeah, right? That movie is hardcore.
Yeah. Anyway, are you ready?
Are you ready?
I guess I am.
Yeah, go.
We open with the camera on the sky. A title card appears. China, June, 1540. The camera pans down as we see a dockyard. Shut up, Eric. I don't care. It's going to pan because that's the lingo I'm using. Anyway, the camera looks around and we see a older Chinese dockyard. It's vaguely Chinese, enough that you'd be able to recognize it as such. People are loading boxes onto a boat, and they're moving things all around. One of the boxes, as the camera zooms into it, shows the board game Jumanji that we will know. However, it's all written in Chinese characters. Those that know kanji would be able to probably understand what it says, but it would come out as basically gibberish because it's actually in Chinese.
Okay.
The box is picked up, put on the boat, and we slowly zoom out. We then tilt back up to the sky.
Yay, he's learning.
We then tilt back down towards the ground. Now it says Japan, July 1540.
So we're in the flashback for more than 30 seconds.
Yeah. People start unloading the boxes, including the one that has Jumanji, which now in katakana says Jumanji.
For us English people, that's another type of linguistic thing?
Yeah, that's one of the alphabets that the Japanese people use. Katakana is specifically used for foreign words.
Okay.
But the important thing here is the fact that it no longer is in Chinese. It changed the title on it.
Ooh, that's kind of creepy.
The box is then carried through a variety of different backgrounds as it eventually arrives at a castle. Specifically, the game board is taken out of the box and brought to some important looking guy. Maybe the emperor, maybe some Japanese shogun. It doesn't really matter. He looks at it. There's wordless banter going on, like he thanks them for the favor and yada, yada, yada. And then he gives it to his son.
I already like this.
The son then scampers off with the board game, wide-eyed, excited. Then we cut. Now it's nighttime. Same exterior shot of the castle, and it's raining. The boy is now hurrying away from the castle, running up a mountain towards a mountain shrine with the game board in his hands.
Is this the equivalent of sneaking off for a royal Japanese kid?
The implications are more important.
How dare I?
He arrives at the shrine and meets a Miko, specifically a Japanese shrine priestess.
Thank you.
And they bury the game board deep in the soil near the shrine.
That was quick.
Well, it's implied that in between the cuts, he has played the game.
Oh, well, I guess the attitude would speak for that.
Yes. They finish burying the game, and as the last piece of dirt comes over, now an excavator is moving that same pile of dirt. Title card now appears. Japan, 1993.
Oh, we're keeping it period.
Yeah.
Nice. Is this a 90s anime then? Or just happens to take place back
set
then?
in the 90s.
Okay.
An important looking man in a suit is orchestrating the destruction of the shrine, which is clearly the shrine we saw before, but now it's very run down. Clearly no one's maintaining it. The shrine gate's like in tatters. The building is actually falling apart.
In 400 years, look as good you will not.
Definitely true. The excavator is clearing a whole bunch of dirt and eventually uncovers Jumanji. He picks it up, sees it, and he's like eyeing it more as a peculiarity. He's like, what is this weird box doing near the shrine that we're tearing down to build, I don't know, a strip mall or something? We see this for a few more minutes, and then he carries it back home and gives it to his son. And it also must be stated that the house he returns to is an opulent Japanese mansion. It's one of those Japanese mansions that have the walls that surround them.
Oh, neat. So it looks like a mansion built with old school Japanese architecture around it to look fancy
More like it was originally a Japanese mansion from
and
older
got
times.
hollowed out.
Yeah, a little. Like it got modern updates, but it's still at its core a Japanese mansion, if that makes sense.
No, it makes enough sense.
So the son takes the game, also looking kind of bright-eyed, and is then dismissed by his father. So he calls over his friend to then play the game with.
Did he expect that important businessman to play a child's game?
Yeah, that's
Damn child.
his friend, now revealed to be a girl, which is not really super important, but is a girl, is now sitting with him in one of the many rooms that this Japanese mansion has as they open the board game. All the instructions are in Japanese, as one would expect. And let me talk about the game board a little. So in the movie, honestly, I didn't really do too much math with it, but really it looked like you could beat the game in 2 or 3 really good dice rolls.
Yeah, considering you just rolled 2 d6s.
Yeah,
If you roll a 36, or rather a 12, 12, 12, I think you might be able to just win.
Yeah, so this board game is a lot longer. Also, the pieces themselves are more identifiable as shogi representatives. Shogi is Japanese chess.
Yeah, I was going to say, stop
You're learning-
saying things.
You're learning a lot today, Eric.
Yeah,
So there's one that represents the king, there's one that represents the dragon general, and so on and so forth. There's
cool.
also 8 pieces.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so the girl starts and she rolls the dice. And unlike in the movie where it's rhymes, it's actually haikus.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. That's a good change.
So the board game then says, at home they may be a kind and a friendly bunch, but wild they are not.
Wow, Jared busting out the present fucking tation for this one. Applause.
Put in a little bit of effort.
Oh, wow. Only a little? I like it. What the hell does it mean?
Well, I'll reveal that in a minute.
Yeah, I hope
But
so.
they do hear some low growls that can be heard from a nearby room. Kind of ignoring this because they don't really know what to make of it, and there's other sounds, other people in the house, like servants and whatnot, so they just kind of ignore it. The boy then rolls, and his haiku says, though you may be sad, you will wait in a jungle till a 6 is rolled. He then gets sucked into the board game almost identically to the way that the movie does it. And then, right after he gets sucked in, a pack of wild dogs bursts in through one of the doors and chases the girl clean out of the house.
Nice. So very similar to the scene in the movie.
Exactly.
Nice. All right, cool.
And that's the end of episode 1. Episode 2 starts with the same house, but now it's visibly run down. Like the walls have cracks on it. The house is a little dilapidated. It's doing okay, but it's not that well put together.
Round 3.
And a date appears, 2019.
Woo, that's us.
We see 2 kids, a brother and a sister, twins to be precise, wandering around this house, basically messing around, jumping on walls. They're making a mess of things.
Being kids.
Exactly.
Yep. Are they older or younger than the
Kids that we originally saw play.
Yeah, Judy and Peter? I have blanked on their names. But yeah, are they older or younger? Or comparable?
Comparable to Judy's age because they're twins.
So like 11-ish?
Yeah.
Like just preteen?
Yeah, kids enough to definitely still be kids without really too much adultiness.
Yeah, kids enough to fuck around, but not so childish that they're useless.
Yeah.
Word.
They eventually knock over one of the many wardrobes or furniture in this house, and the board game, Jumanji, comes spilling out. Intrigued, they open it up and they're playing around. They're like, whoa, what is this? They read the instructions, which now we get a clear understanding of what the instructions are. We didn't get it earlier because the kids just kind of jumped right into it.
90s kids didn't read. And 2019 kids don't play board games.
Well, these kids do.
I go them.
They do also make note, unlike the kids in the movie for some reason, that 2 of the pieces are already on the board and they can't move them.
They acknowledge that in the movie.
They do?
Yeah, because that's when they play a joke. Because in the movie, the first time it happens when it's young Alan and Sarah, they say, oh, it must be magnets or something because they won't come off the board. And then when Judy and Peter do it, they have the same thing, except they say, oh, it must be microchips or something to deal with the update.
Well.
So yeah, they do acknowledge it.
Okay, yeah. So either way, there's the same acknowledgement then that there's already pieces on the board. They don't really understand that, but
They're stuck, so screw it.
yeah.
Did you write haikus for every single roll?
No, just those 2.
Okay, I just had to know because I would have been really impressed.
I considered it, but it was way too much effort for...
There's probably too many moments of shorthand. Like, then they roll and shit happens, and they roll and shit happens.
Yeah, so
I don't blame you. I'm just impressed you went as far as you did. Continue.
Then one of them rolls and releases a bunch of macaque. Macaque. Okay.
Monkeys.
Yes, the Japanese monkeys, specifically Japanese monkeys.
Yep.
And they also start messing around with the house. However, these kids don't really care as much as the kids in the movie, and they're just sort of enjoying the fact the monkeys are just fucking with the house.
Oh, wow. These are like the kids from the fucking Cat in the Hat. They're just like, yeah, word, chaos.
A little. Though, as will be shown later, they just snuck into this opulent
I was about
Formula-
to ask, like, are they just sneaking in here?
100%. They're
All
just
right.
fucking around in this
Nice.
place.
There's
They're-
like little rat.
yeah,
street
there's
rats.
no pressure of making sure this place isn't a mess for an older sibling.
Who doesn't
mother-
sneak into abandoned buildings to play board games? Are they homeless?
That'll be addressed later.
Oh, interesting.
So after they enjoy the macaque,
Macaque.
whatever.
It barely matters.
I put effort into it. I can only do pronunciation so well. But after they find that really funny, they resume the game. One of them then rolls a 6, and a Japanese black bear comes barreling through the wall, charging straight at them. They then spend the next while running wildly throughout the house, avoiding this scary black bear. It eventually peters off, and they manage to escape from it by largely shutting in a room, but mostly it just kind of was...
Getting tired.
Yeah. After that, they say, fuck this, I'm done here, let's go home. So they take the board game with them, and they walk home to a very small rundown house. Not rundown in the way that the former opulent mansion is, but rundown in the way that they're clearly poor.
Very poor, I assume.
They sit down, and then they open the game board, and at that moment, a fully grown man materializes in front of them, looking just as scared about what's going on as they are.
Is he all jungly like Robin Williams Alan was in the movie, or?
Yes, very similar, though I would say more traditional Japanese style clothing than...
It's more like reeds than the ferns and fronds he was wearing.
yeah.
Okay.
The man then goes into a very short exposition. This is clearly Alan, by the way.
Yeah, or
Alan's
Japanese Alan.
stand-in.
Yeah, of course.
He goes into a short exposition about, he was trapped in the board game, and he goes through what year is it, and they're like, it's 2019. He's like, what the hell? What's going on? Yada, yada, yada. He then runs off, and the kids then say, we're not playing this anymore. Not only did a bear try to attack us, a man appeared in our home who we've never met before. I'm just done. Meanwhile, in the town, there's a little bit of chaos. The bear is now broken out of the house and is just sort of causing a ruckus. All the monkeys are causing the same amount of ruckus they did in the movie.
Which is a lot. They're like the gremlins.
Yeah, they are fucking everything up in the town. After a day in which they do sleep, the man eventually returns back to their house and goes into further exposition about what the board game is, how this can only be reversed by the fact of them actually playing it, and if they want to help the situation, they need to finish this game. After a little bit of hemming and hawing, they eventually agree, and he goes to roll, and nothing happens. He rolls again, nothing happens. Then he remembers his
friend's turn.
his female friend was playing the game with him. Mm-hmm. So just like the movie, they go to apparently the same house she lived in when she was a kid, and she just happens to continue being there.
Thank God.
And they go and try to convince her to join their crazy board game adventures.
Does she have the same holy mother of God pass out reaction to quote unquote Alan being back?
No, her reaction is more screaming.
Fair. So instead of the pass out cliche, she's the throw her hands in the air and scream cliche.
Exactly.
Cool.
It takes a long time for them to eventually convince her to play. Like, there's a lot of bargaining and defeatist statements from her and stuff like that. But eventually, they get her to play. They also all decide to go back to the...
abandoned building?
Yes, because the kids are like, we can't ruin our house with things like bears coming through the wall. So then the female friend rolls her die. She gets another haiku, and this time bamboo shoots straight out of the floor, like this sharp bamboo, the kind that they used to torture people in World War II.
And it's like shooting out, I assume.
Yes,
all, like,
it's very fast.
Around them.
So they're dodging in between all these bamboo that are cracking through the floorboards right at them and like nearly missing them.
Oh, it's a stand-in for the killer plants.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
After they eventually get out of the crazy zone of bamboo, the Alan rolls, and his haiku says that he is now being hunted by Hitoruyoshi, which translates to manhunter.
Swag.
At which, as soon as he finishes reading it, a spear flies right past his head and basically wings his hair, cutting a little bit of his hair.
This will be our Van Pelt.
Exactly.
Instead of the Great White Hunter, we have that.
We have a now revealed man in, I don't remember what it's called, but it's very similar to the kind of thing that sumo wrestlers wear. He has some paint on him. He has 3 spears on his back. Well, 2 now.
Okay, so war paint and spears.
Yes. A more traditional, older hunter. During that, they eventually run away, and he's hunting them throughout the house, and they eventually manage to get away. But during the escape attempt, one of the monkeys actually steal the die.
The monkeys are the real antagonists.
Yeah, the monkeys were probably the worst people in that movie.
Yeah, like the monkeys, like they steal Carl's car. They just wreck everything.
Yeah. So now it becomes a 3-way chase with a monkey and then a couple others also getting in the fray, being chased by the group who's being chased by the hunter.
Is the hunter also similar to the movie, only chasing our Alan? Or?
Yes, very similar. He's focused
mostly ignoring the others.
Yeah, the others are collateral damage if they get in the way, but he largely will ignore them as long as Alan can be targeted.
Gotcha.
Eventually, they get the die back for the monkey, and Alan decides that he's going to draw the hunter away from the group so that they can continue the game without the hunter constantly impeding their progress. So he runs off, and we don't see exactly what's going on with that, and the hunter leaves the picture. For the next 3 turns, they release a variety of insane things such as giant cicadas, kappa, and even a 9-tailed fox.
All right, Japanese stuff. Cute.
The 9-tailed fox especially is actually less of an antagonist. It's sort of helping them. It's I
even thought it.
It's a little gray, like it's mischievous very much in nature, but at the end of the day, it's kind of helping them. Eventually, with the help of the 9-tailed fox, they manage to enough beat the hunter. Like, he's incapacitated, let's say. Alan is now only 1 move away from winning. Literally 1 move. If he just rolls anything, he's going to win.
Sort of like at the end of the movie.
Yes.
We did the math, and it's like, okay, if he rolls anything with both die, he'll win.
Yeah, exactly. But this time, with the hunter not staring at them, they have a little time, so they say their goodbyes, their thank yous, and all that. Then he rolls. We then cut. It's now in the past, specifically with the opulent mansion now in its full glory again. And we see the 2 friends from the beginning is sitting in the same place they were sitting originally with the board game in between them, the board game not opened. And they're like, what the hell just happened? They have a short discussion about, was that a dream? Was that all in our heads? Was that real? They come to the conclusion that it must have been real because it felt real.
Yeah, that makes sense. For a sec, when you paused before, I thought you were going to say that Alan forgot to say Jumanji, and it's like Uno.
Well, in this case, with the stakes being lower at the final moment, if he had forgotten, he just would eventually remembered when he looked at the rules.
He's like, oh, shit. That's why nothing happened.
Yeah. So after they talked a little bit, they decide to pack up the board game and throw it right in the ocean. We now cut again, and we see, again, 2019. Alan is now an adult, a much cleaner shaven adult. His girlfriend is the female friend from before. They're not married. They're just girlfriends stuff. And he is tracking down the parents of the 2 kids that he played the game with from before. He eventually finds them, the parents, and offers them a really good job working for his family.
Construction company or whatever.
Yeah, the family's company.
The family business.
So that they are no longer in poverty.
That was very nice of him.
The last scene is identical to the ending of the movie. We now see a beach scene with the waves lapping up and down as Jumanji floats into the sand and gets kind of buried. We then see 2 girls walking slowly towards Jumanji, not having yet noticed it, as we now see the board game now says, in English, Jumanji.
You need bigger rocks, people. More rocks. That damn board game gets everywhere.
And that's it. That's the end.
Okay. This is more a streamlining job because, again, it's pretty laid out for you.
Yeah.
But I think the addition of all the Japanese folklore and flora and fauna, I think that was smart, and that was a good little style change. I like that.
Yeah, I didn't feel like this needed any bigger changes because this was kind of cut and dry and it worked really well, just inserting anime isms right into it.
Yeah, it's a good little story.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to to do something with there's 8 pieces now?
I just wanted that to be established that there could be 8 players. It really was just an aside, to be honest.
Okay. I was just half expecting you to do something.
Yeah, just because the Jumanji board game clearly is meant for max 4 players, this one could have been played with 8.
Right, considering it's a bigger board, too.
Yes.
Is a slight shame we dropped the Alan overcoming his fears as father and dethroning toxic masculinity thing, but at least we kept the Alan helping out the kids in the future because their lives weren't good. So we kept half of the subtextual out of the game thing. So that's nice.
The whole idea of Alan versus masculinity didn't fit as well, and I would have had to come up with a whole new overcoming
dynamic with his dad.
Yeah, and I decided that rather than developing a whole new thing that then I would have to explain, I just cut it.
Makes enough sense. So Jumanji's
done.
Okay, so hit me.
All right, you ready?
No.
Amagami Brilliant Park.
I didn't like this one.
I'm not surprised, Eric.
Yeah, I didn't like this one.
It's so silly and fun and cutesy.
I'm not fun. And I like good things. No. Give me the fucking plot recap.
A amusement park that's about to go under in 3 months has those 3 months to try to get a total of 500,000 visitors, at which they are about 250,000. They recruit a former Japanese child actor to work as their acting manager for the remaining 3 months. And through a series of hijinks with characters that, while they're mascots, they are actually characters from an alternate dimension, reality, whatever you want to call it. They are actually people that are not just in costumes. They actually look like they are. And he has to try to surmount this 250,000 people in 3 months challenge.
Isn't that how many people Disney gets in like a day?
Yeah, something like that. Disney.
I know they're not Disney. I'm just kidding.
Disney gets a lot of people.
Yeah, that's accurate. Ew.
All right, Eric, take us to Amagami Brilliant Park.
By which you mean Brilliant Park, because why would the westernized version be called Amagami Brilliant Park?
Maybe
really?
There's a town named Amagami.
It's not.
Because that was why it was named that in the anime.
That wasn't made clear to me.
Well, that's why it was.
Well, now I know. But no, it's just called Brilliant Park. The piece, I mean, the film version.
Yeah, no,
Brilliant
I understand.
Park. Yeah, okay. So we open at a bustling career day in a high school gymnasium. There's booths everywhere for businesses, both local and chains, and there's students all over the damn place. And we don't really focus on any specific student or booth or person. We're just kind of with the crowd. We're seeing what's up until we stop on one booth that says Brilliant Park in a nice, adorable Calliope banner. At this booth, there's a young woman, maybe early college age, who looks either bored or depressed out of her mind with her fist against her cheek, leaning, just looking half asleep, and a mascot, a person in a mascot suit, our Mofu stand-in. I'm just going to call him Mofu.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. It's Moful, but yeah, you're right.
Whatever.
It's good enough.
But yeah, they're a bear slash mouse.
Yeah, they call him a mouse in the anime, but he's clearly a bear.
Yeah, they look like a bear.
Yeah, so either way.
That person is there, and they're hamming it up, trying to get the students' attention. There is not a single person giving a damn about this.
It makes enough sense.
So we hold on them for just a minute until Mofu hands off a flyer saying, come to the park, blah, 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 to a student. The student takes it, and we have this artsy oneer where we follow the flyer in the person's hand. They walk out the door into the parking lot, crumple up the thing, throw it towards a garbage can. It misses, bounces, rolls away in the wind, stops at someone's feet. The feet of our lead. What was his name in the anime?
Seiya.
Yeah.
His name is Seiya.
Well, that's not it. This one
Obviously.
goes by a nickname. I don't know what, but something like Skip or just some kind of informal nickname.
Okay.
You'll see why later. But so we see Skip. I'll just say Skip.
Skip works. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, we see Skip leaned against like a Lamborghini. He is half sitting, half leaning on the hood, smoking a cigarette, macking on a chick. We already get the vibe that this is some hot shot pretty boy with money. He's trying to get in this chick's pants, and it's half working. She seems charmed, like she is blushing at what he's saying, but she's also clearly trying to get away from the situation. She's doing the like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I know. I hope we have a good summer. I have to go. And then someone kind of taps him on the shoulder, says, hey, buddy, who are you talking to? He's like, he turns around. He's like, what's it to you? He's like, well, it's my girlfriend. So moments later, fight. They're having a high school fight, which amounts to 2 punches and then a lot of rolling around and kicking and so nothing too grisly or anything, but they get into a scuffle, and then A moment later, staff runs over, break it up, break it up. Cut immediately, and we're in a guidance counselor's office. Our lead, Skip, is sitting across the desk from a guidance counselor who is giving us our introductory exposition about who this guy is. He almost says his name. He's like, so, Mr. He's like, don't say it. I like to be called, Skip now. And he's like, okay, Skip. Well, and then
What is he, a greaser? I mean, he has the car, he has the girls.
It's a Lamborghini. It's not a fucking Pinto.
No, but
I don't know anything about cars. I have no idea what a Pinto is. Anyway, he just explains that he's a narcissist and he slacks off in school. And this has been his senior year. We're on the very, very end of his senior year. And he gives them the spiel of, you need to straighten up and fly right. And you need to think about your future. You can't just keep dwelling on the past. You're a good, smart kid, but you're just a punk ass. And he's like, hey, by the end of the scene, the guidance counselor says, you know what? You asked me a few months ago for some recommendation letters for college or jobs or whatever. I might rethink that if you don't walk down to the job fair right now and get an internship. Okay. And Skip is like, you're bluffing. Cut. And Skip is walking into the job fair and it's almost over. All of the booths are either in the process of being taken down or down. There's only 2 active ones
Let me
left.
guess. One of them is Brilliant Park.
Yes, that's the one with no one at it. The other one is mobbed. And Skip looks at one, looks at the other, and he meets eyes with the chick at the Brilliant Park thing. He stares at her for a few seconds. Maybe it's a romantic spark, or maybe he's just considering. Then Mofu steps in between them, hands him a flyer and says, oh, are you interested? Before he can even really say no, he's been walked over, signed his name on the page, and says, sure, I guess. We cut and we get a very brief scene to show his home life is not bad, but just a little hollow, a little disconnected. Like,
oh, we get home life.
Very, very brief. Like, it's just him on his phone at the table while his parents are having a conversation about business or there's some kind of well off, but he doesn't care and they don't care that he doesn't care. So to show that he's unfulfilled in his home life. Mm-hmm. Then we cut and we see the first day at Brilliant Park. And there is fucking no one there. It is a skeleton
as expected
crew. So he's walked around by that girl, the lead, she'll be our lead female, the chick who works there. He meets the people in the mascot suits who they're people now. I'm just going to spoil it. There's no magic at play here. None at all.
Aww, but that's what made it Magic Hour. Look at the sky, it's magic hour.
You didn't even know if that's what it said.
No, that's what the subtitles say. It definitely sounds like, look at the sky, it's magical to me, but it's magic
He's
hour.
talking about the anime opening.
Yeah, that's just what they first say.
Anyway, he meets the side characters, the mascot, the cook, and eventually he's led to the woman in charge, who's this kind of older woman who may or may not be of some ill health. She's this kind of an old, sad lady.
Is she a princess?
No.
I just had to get that out of the way.
I'll say it says that like jokingly on her business card.
Like her title card?
her placard on her desk or something, because the park is similarly kind of medieval fantasy themed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's just no overt magic at all, I promise.
Well, I can hold out a vain hope.
But this whole time, our lead Skip has been just sleepwalking through this. He barely shakes hands. His eyes are glazed. His chewing gum. He tries to smoke a cigarette, and our female lead rips it out of his hand, snaps it in half, throws it into a garbage can that's next to a no smoking sign. He just doesn't give a hot damn.
Yeah.
And so at the end of this first day, he's, say, leaning against a wall waiting for an Uber or something, and he overhears some side characters, those 2 lesbian chicks who are the mascots.
2 lesbian chicks?
I thought they were both lesbians. Whatever. The 2 chicks who were mascots. The one, the sheep, and the other one.
Yeah, no. One of them is a guy, the other one's a girl.
Oh, I had no
But
idea.
one of them is a hardcore lesbian.
I had absolutely no idea.
That's okay.
Either way, those 2 are chatting. They're doing the daily grind, getting off work kind of bitching thing, talking about going out for a drink. And he overhears it, and they get into a bit of a sob story about how by the end of summer, they're going to hit their quarterly or 5-year, some kind of inspection that if they don't pass it, the park will go under.
Okay.
He listens kind of closely, and for a moment we think that he might turn and say something, and then he pops the bubble of his gum, gets in the cab, leaves.
Yeah. So unlike in the anime where he looks down gingerly at the benches that have smoothed edges and says to himself something along the lines of, oh, they care enough about the kids to not hurt themselves, but they can't keep the park in order. He is instead like, fuck them.
So far. So we get a montage of him basically doing fuck all for a few days worth of work. We see him burning matzo pot sticks because he's not paying attention working in the kitchen. We see him asleep at the controls for one of the scrambler rides. We see him picking up trash one piece at a time with one of those trash
grabbers?
pokey sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just completely phoning it in.
You know, his issue was that he was never given one of those awesome, what are they, like croquets? There's the little food that he ate that he fell in love with.
Oh, I have no idea what Japanese food is, but yeah, it's true. This one doesn't get that.
Yeah.
It's just got park food.
Yeah. Normal park
Yeah,
food.
the most interesting thing they have is like alligator on a stick.
What are we in Florida?
Or any state fair.
I guess is that common?
I don't know. Our state fair has it, so I assume all state fairs have it.
All right, I guess it's fair.
Any friggin' way. By the end of this montage, we see either the tragedy or monotony of working in a park with no one coming to it starts to get to him. And he starts to go from kind of enjoying how little he has to do to clearly resenting it.
I feel you, buddy. Being bored at a job is the worst.
And we cut, and he claims it's because he's bored, but who knows? He presents the woman in charge with some kind of 2-week business plan. He's some kind of marketing / business prodigy, and he gives her this thing. He says, oh, by the end of the 2-week period, you should see anywhere between X and X percentile of increase in park productivity. This much, if you're lucky, have fun.
So when he was talking to the principal back in school or whatever, when he was talking to him about the letters, it was going to be like a business school, right?
Maybe, or it was more one of those things where the guidance counselor says, if you just applied yourself, like look at your grades on these and these tests in your marketing class or your business planning class 101 kind of thing, you did amazing. You didn't show up to class half the day, but your test was literally perfect.
So it's more like
he's a slacker with a brilliant brain. Cliche.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so obviously these 2 weeks go by and they see a very nice increase in attendance. So they ask him for more help and he jumps into a sort of intern management position where he gets to pitch ideas he's on something of a council, like a business council within the
Yeah, it makes
park.
enough sense.
And so this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the next little bit is him pitching something or helping someone out directly in the park. And we see the result of it, which is usually good. And we see him learning from the people and people learning from him. And all the while he's developing what could be a romance with the female lead that is in turn developing into a slight animosity with Mofu, who's her uncle in this version.
Oh, okay.
He's the uncle of the female lead.
All right, that makes enough sense.
So he's kind of like, stay away from my niece. And he's like, I'm not doing nothing. Don't worry. And all the while he is helping the park in small, steady increments.
Yeah. Did they, I don't know if I missed it, did they give a specific date when the inspection is?
Yeah, it's like August 31st or something. It's end of the summer because that's end of the season.
Well, is that 3 months, 5 months?
We start in the middle of June and it's at the end of August. So
Okay.
about the same.
About the same. Gotcha.
A season of park work.
Okay.
In his nascent romance with our female lead, she starts to ask him about his backstory, which he immediately changes the subject about and completely dodges.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then we get to a meeting scene sometime a bit later where they're all pitching ideas for a video project to help the park. There's some good ideas, some bad ideas. Some people say, oh, we'll put a GoPro on someone and go down a roller coaster to show how fun it is. Oh, we'll go through the tunnel of love and do like a first-person VR kind of thing. It'll be really cute. And our lead Skip says, oh, well, why don't we just take every female employee and put her in a bikini? And
Yeah.
Mofu immediately shoots it down, gives him the dirtiest of looks, and tells him to go fuck himself. And they decide to shelve the video project for now because they cannot agree on something. Mm-hmm. After the meeting, right before Skip can leave, Mofu stops him. He says, oh, buddy, come here for a second. He walks over thinking he's going to get chewed out again. And Mofu says, we're updating the payroll, so I just need to scan your ID into the system again. He's like, okay, sure. Hands him his ID. Mofu just walks to the other room, snaps a picture on his phone, gives it back. He takes it, says, okay, cool, bye, leaves. That night, Mofu does some internet foo and starts looking him up by his real name, doing some digging. He makes some kind of discovery that leaves him with a kind of shit-eating grin on his face.
No, don't mess with our main character.
So we cut to some indeterminate time later, and our lead Skip is walking into the park some morning, and it's not bustling, but it's the busiest he's ever seen it. He starts looking around, seeing people be happy. They're all looking at things. They're doing things. They're enjoying the park, and they're all smiling at him. And he, having a giant ego, immediately says, well, yeah, I did do this, so thank you. And he walks into the morning meeting, whatever, and he immediately starts to take credit. He's like, well, so I guess everybody should start bowing down to me. Like, look what I've done around this place. Stops dead when he sees that all of the employees are around a computer watching a video. Now, I will explain something that will be explained more overtly later.
Okay.
It is revealed that Skip, and whatever his real name is, was, much like the anime, a child actor.
Okay.
And he had a very nice starting career. He was in a few movies, a lot of commercials, some TV. He had a really, really nice thing going on. And just when he hit something that would have been his big break, like a live appearance on The Daily Show or SNL or something, let's say it's SNL, he had to be up on a ladder to cue in a really big actor, like a Jim Carrey or an Adam Sandler, a Kristen Wiig, someone big. His fear of heights kicked in that no one knew he had. He flubbed it so bad. He almost fell. He said the wrong actor. He missed his cue in terms of timing, and he started crying on stage live to the point where they had to shut the show down for a minute, throw up the technical difficulties mark, and then pick up with a stand-in, like an understudy. And so it ruined his career. No one would hire the kid who fucked an episode of SNL up and wept on stage. So he changed his name. His parents moved him, and his acting career was completely dead upon seeing that Mofu is like, oh yeah, you really are pulling your weight around here now, aren't you? Look how many people showed up for you. He is somewhere between furious and really sad. He says, fuck you guys, bails immediately.
Okay, makes enough sense. I mean, I would be particularly happy if my coworkers, regardless of their intentions, dug up this past I clearly went all out to hide.
Yep. So we get a scene of him being sad and alone, I don't know, in a parking lot on the hood of his car again or something. And our female lead arrives and he explains the exact thing I just explained to you.
Yeah.
The backstory in more detail. And she's like, oh my God, that's horrible. I'm so sorry my uncle did that. And he's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's pouting.
Yeah.
And she runs back to the park at the end of the day and confronts her uncle Mofu as he's taking off his mascot suit for the day and says, you would need to apologize and we need to take that video down immediately. And he, in a bit of a turn for this type of movie, says, hell no. Do you know how much this has already helped us? He's like, yeah, it was shitty, but so's he. It doesn't matter. Wake up, princess. This is what we need. We need a boost in revenue, a boost in interest. I don't care about your little buddy. He kind of puts his foot down and says, I didn't do the wrong thing. This helped us. Boo-hoo. And she's like, wow,
Like, yeah, wow, you're a terrible person.
A smidge. So we cut, and it's sometime later. We assume that Skip took a few days off to cool his head or what have you. Mm-hmm. And he arrives at the morning meeting, and everything's kind of tense because he hasn't been back since. He and Mofu stare each other down, and we think for a sec there might be violence.
Oh.
When
female lead pulls out two guns from her skirt and shoots both of them.
No. God.
Look at the sky. It's magic hour.
With rifles.
Go ahead.
Skip, instead of doing what we assume, again has a bit of a turn where he presents a new business plan to essentially parade himself around. Just double down, say, screw it, this is still applying to my ego, I'll just be the star. And so he comes up with a business plan that says, essentially, I'll make myself an exclusive feature for the park. I'll do interviews here, I'll do public appearances, I'll release footage that you can exclusively only download if you buy like a season pass for the park. Everyone's kind of impressed at his
was 180.
Yeah, everyone's honestly impressed that he's able to be that quote unquote humble, at least whatever it is.
But for a guy that's nothing but the purest definition of narcissism, this is very selfless.
In a way, but again, it does sort of.
Well, yeah, it appeals to his ego, but.
In a way, but so yeah, he just did some mental gymnastics to make himself okay with it. They do this, and it works pretty well. Eventually, over the next few weeks, whatever, how long, it starts to die down, and we're down to the wire on the day of the inspection. On that morning, we meet our very over-the-top inspector character, who's kind of a bald older gentleman with a clipboard and a red pen ready to mark all your failures.
Nice.
And it's a really terrible rainy day out. They walk him around, he inspects the food and the safety and everything, and they seem to be doing okay. They're marking this and that and this and that. And by the end of his inspection, he isn't revealing how well they're doing, but he doesn't seem displeased. He just says, okay, there's one more segment to my inspection that's very important. They're like, oh, what is it? He's like, oh, before I got here, handed out flyers at the main gate to pass out to your customers for testimonials. And once we get them back, we'll pool them together for a sort of public opinion poll that will be one of the ultimate deciding factors. It's revealed because they're immediately like, oh, good, yeah, we'll You want some free mott sticks? You can stay here. Lock him in the cafeteria, run off to the main gate to ask, like, oh, who's turning them in? And they're like, guys, it's raining. We have almost no one here today. They're like, shit. And so they take what they have, return it to the inspector. He looks at them and explains in a really insane, I admit, and it's this kind of movie, contrivance. They are 1%, we'll say, short of the data being quantifiable because, to get an accurate readout.
You basically need like a few more people.
Yes. And so they're just like, oh, great. So we'll just get an NA, which is an automatic fail. Sweet. In a moment of sly brilliance, Skip hammers out a text when the inspector's not looking and we don't see who. And very, very shortly after, the guidance counselor arrives with his wife and family. They are very feverishly handed the surveys. And by the end of their stay there, they obviously fill it out, say, great job. They tally it up and they pass by a fair margin. They don't flying colors, hoorah, we rock. But the inspector says, this is fine, this needs work. Bottom line, they're not being shut down.
So they basically got like an 85%.
Yeah, they're not being shut down.
Gotcha.
So everyone has that moment as soon as the inspector's car pulls away where they cheer, they crack open champagne, they start screaming with happiness. The lead kisses Skip on the cheek, and they take it as a win.
Yay.
Then we cut and we get some falling action sometime later. It's a nice day. It's sunset. The park's closing for whatever day that is. Mofu gives Skip a punch on the shoulder, says, thanks for the help. See you around. Because this is clearly his last day. Because he was only contracted as an intern for X amount of 90 days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the lead says, oh, what are you going to do with yourself now? He kind of thinks about it for a second, hems, haws, and then he's like, maybe I can be convinced to stick around a little longer. I mean, I did just graduate and I don't have any specific plans, so maybe. And she hits him back with something akin to, well, yeah, maybe you can get your acting career back on. We got plenty of mascot suits. He kind of gives her a shove and they adorably walk off into the park at sunset, kind of shoving and laughing and all that. Tilts up to the nice, adorable red sunset. Credits.
That I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cute.
Yeah. I'll let you. Do you want to do your director stuff now?
Sure,
All right,
sure,
and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah. So directed by probably Richard Linklater, who he directed School of Rock.
Oh, gotcha.
And Boyhood, Bernie, a bunch of stuff. School of Rock is kind of a decent enough pedigree. He does comedy, dramedy, kind of good things that are good with family and dealing with things while still being funny. And honestly, he just writes really real dialogue, and I think that would help in certain aspects here. Or maybe David Gordon Green, who he's done a few dumb stoner comedies and the complete outlier that is Halloween 2018. But he's a really good director if you can get past the dumb stonerisms.
Okay.
Music by Michael Giacchino, who, he's done music for countless stuff, like some Marvel movies. He did music for Jurassic World, and he did music for Lost. He's done really good music. He's good at emotion and kind of a baby John Williams, but with a little more nuance. The lead is either someone named Tom Madden, who you've never seen him in anything. He was in the Scream TV show, and he played a complete, just cocky, arrogant high school dick.
Oh, so he's already good at it.
Exactly. So I'm positive he could pull it off. Or Callan McAuliffe. I don't know how the fuck to pronounce it. It's French. But he's a young character actor. He's on The Walking Dead, and he could also pull it off. He's kind of suave, can play a late teen or early 20-year-old kind of guy. Mofu, the only person that hit me was maybe like a Liev Schreiber, who weirdly enough, he's actually also in Scream, a movie, not the show, but whatever. And you would know him from, he was Sabretooth in the terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine movie.
Oh, yeah.
But he's good. He's really good at that kind of, I don't know, he just reads me as an uncle. He's kind of good at the slightly controversial mentor. And he's a very good actor. And he's got a good voice that would sound good coming out of the mascot suit. And the girl, I don't know, like a Lucy Hale or an Emma Roberts or something, both of which are also in Scream movies. What the fuck?
I guess you just had Scream on mind when you were planning this.
I guess so. It wasn't fully intentional. Anyway, your questions or comments?
Well, I just want to say I love that you, because there wasn't any specific themes that need to be in it, though I want to mention that when we were watching this, Eric had said to me something along the lines of he may be excising the park from Amagami Brilliant Park.
I said that?
Yes, you did.
I believe it. I did not enjoy my time with this.
Yeah, so I am happy I didn't have to yell at you about that or mildly be disapproving.
Yeah, me too. No, again, I thought the part that was the most meaty was the part the anime didn't fucking touch upon, which is the former child star.
Yeah, oh no, that was one of the things I really liked, because even at the end of the anime, when they're getting every single person, every friend they have to try to come into the park and they're like down to the wire, he doesn't even use the fact that he's a child actor. Doesn't ever get used.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Yeah, so I thought that was the best part. And other than that, it was just kind of a cute drama about saving a park. Whatever.
Yeah.
Works. Comedy, dramedy.
Yeah, so I really like your adaptation.
Thank you. All right, anything else for the day?
No, I think we're all good. All right, so if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's Jared N, the letter N, Eric 1.
And now we also have a Facebook page if you want to follow us on the old people's Facebook. It's just a little live story. You can find it by searching that. Other than that, I think we're good, right?
Yep.
All right, so I am Eric.
And I'm Jared.
And thank you for listening